The transport ship landed on Luna Station with a heavy thud. Kung Taeho stepped out into the cold metal corridor, his boots echoing against the floor. His body was tired. His muscles ached from weeks of fighting on the frontier. The war against the Korth Hive had been brutal, and he had lost good soldiers. He wanted nothing more than to return to Earth, drink something strong, and sleep for a month. But the message on his communicator said otherwise. Report to Central Command immediately. Taeho walked through the busy station. Soldiers saluted him as he passed. They knew his face. They knew his name. In the year 2847, humanity had spread across the stars, and Taeho had become one of its greatest warriors. The aliens called him the Iron Wolf. He had earned that name through blood and fire. The doors to the command center slid open. Inside, Commander Baek Yong-soo waited for him. The old man had gray hair and deep lines on his face. He had seen more wars than Taeho could count. "You look terrible," Baek said. "I feel terrible," Taeho replied. "What is this about?" "I was promised to leave." Baek did not smile. He pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared in the air. It showed two female faces. Both were clearly not human. Their skin had strange colors. One had silver blue skin with glowing eyes. The other had pale lavender skin with soft markings that seemed to shine. "Valorians," Taeho said. His voice became hard. He had fought the Valorian Empire for years. They were tall, strong, and proud. They believed humans were weak creatures who did not deserve a place among the stars. "Not just any Valorians," Baek said. "Princesses. The daughters of the Emperor." Taeho stared at the images. "The Emperor is dead. I heard the reports. His son killed him and took the throne." "Correct. Prince Vorath murdered his father 2 weeks ago. He now controls the Empire." Baek zoomed in on the two faces. "These are his sisters, Princess Lyra, the elder, Princess Naya, the younger. They escaped before Vorath could kill them too. 3 days ago they surrendered to one of our patrol ships." "Surrendered?" Taeho raised an eyebrow. "Valorian royalty does not surrender, especially not to humans." The doors behind them opened again. A woman walked in with sharp eyes and a perfect uniform. Admiral Shin Hairi was the head of Earth's diplomatic and military operations. She was known for her cold intelligence and her ability to see 10 moves ahead. "They surrendered because they had no choice," Admiral Shin said. "Vorath wants them dead. Every bounty hunter and assassin in the galaxy is looking for them. They came to us because we are the only power strong enough to protect them from the Valorian Empire." Taeho crossed his arms. "So what? We protect them? Give them a nice room and free food while their people continue to hate us." "It is more complicated than that," Shin replied. "These princesses are valuable. If Vorath's rule becomes unstable, they could be used to challenge him. They are political tools. But they are also dangerous. We do not know if we can trust them. They might be spies. They might be playing a longer game. Then why not just lock them in a cell?" Taeho asked. "Because we are not monsters," Shin said coldly. "And because we need them cooperative. They have information about Vorath, about the Empire, about things we do not yet understand." She stepped closer to Taeho. "We need someone to guard them. Someone who can protect them from Vorath's killers. Someone who can also watch them and make sure they do not betray us." Taeho felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. "No, you are the only choice," Baek said. "You are the only human who has ever fought a Valorian royal in single combat and lived." The memory hit Taeho like a punch. 5 years ago, during the Battle of Kirin Station, he had faced a Valorian warrior in silver armor. She had been fast, deadly, and filled with cold fury. They had fought for nearly 20 minutes. In the end, neither had killed the other. She had retreated when her ship was destroyed. He had collapsed from blood loss. It was the closest he had ever come to death. "To Princess Lyra," Shin said quietly. "She was your opponent that day. She will remember you." "This is a mistake," Taeho said. "This is an order," Shin replied. Taeho had no choice. He was a soldier. Soldiers followed orders, They took him to the holding area on the lower levels of the station. The room was comfortable, but secure. 2 guards stood outside. Taeho told them to leave. Then he opened the door and stepped inside. The 2 princesses sat on opposite sides of the room. Naya, the younger one, looked up with wide, curious eyes. Her lavender skin seemed to glow softly in the dim light. She was smaller than he expected, almost delicate, but Lyra was exactly as he remembered. Tall, proud, her silver blue skin was flawless, and her glowing eyes burned with cold anger. She stood the moment she saw him. Her hands tightened into fists. Her voice was like ice. "Me," Taeho replied calmly. "Of all the humans in your pathetic fleet they send you?" Lyra stepped forward. She was taller than him by several inches. Most Valorians were. "I would rather die than be guarded by you." Taeho did not flinch. He had faced death too many times to be scared by words. That can be arranged. But not today. Lyra's eyes flashed with rage. For a moment, Taeho thought she might attack him. But she controlled herself. Barely. Naya stood up slowly. "Sister, please. He is here to help us. Help us." Lyra laughed bitterly. "He is here to use us, just like everyone else. Do not be fooled by his calm face, Naya. This human is a killer. I have seen what he can do." Taeho looked at the younger princess. She seemed different from her sister. There was no hatred in her eyes. Only curiosity and maybe a little fear. "I am not here to be your friend," Taeho said. "I am here to keep you alive. Whether you like it or not, I am your best chance of surviving. Vorith has already sent hunters after you. They will not stop until you are dead or back in his hands." Lyra's expression flickered. For just a moment, Taeho saw something beneath her pride. Fear. She was afraid. She was just too proud to show it. "We leave in 1 hour," Taeho continued. "A ship called the Heta will take us to a safe location. Pack whatever you need. Do what I say. Stay alive." He turned toward the door. "That is all I care about." As he walked out, his communicator buzzed. A message from the bridge. His blood went cold as he read it. A cloaked vessel had been detected at the edge of the system. It was Valorian. Vorith's hunters had already found them. The hunt had begun. The Heta was a small ship, built for speed and silence. It slipped through the darkness of space like a ghost. Inside, the air was tense. 3 weeks of travel lay ahead of them. 3 weeks of hiding from Vorith's hunters. 3 weeks of Taeho being trapped with 2 alien princesses who did not want him there. Lyra made her feelings clear from the first day. She refused to eat with him. She refused to speak to him. When they passed in the narrow corridors, she looked at him like he was dirt beneath her feet. Taeho did not care. He had faced worse enemies than a proud princess with a bad attitude, but Lyra did something else that bothered him more. Sometimes, when he was not looking, he felt a strange pressure in his mind. It was like someone was trying to open a locked door inside his head. He knew what it was. Valorians had telepathic abilities. Lyra was trying to read his thoughts. She tried again on the 5th day. Taeho was sitting in the small kitchen area, eating a simple meal. He felt that pressure again. He closed his eyes and pushed back with his mind. The human military had trained him to resist psychic attacks. It was painful, but it worked. When he opened his eyes, Lyra was standing in the doorway. Her face showed surprise. "How did you do that?" she demanded. "Training," Taeho said simply. "Your tricks will not work on me." Lyra stared at him for a long moment. There was something in her eyes that was not anger. It looked almost like respect. Then she turned and walked away without another word. Naya was different. She did not hide from Taeho. She watched him with curious eyes whenever he trained in the small cargo bay. She asked questions about everything. What was Earth like? Why did humans fight so hard? What did human food taste like? "You are strange," Taeho told her one evening. "Your sister hates humans. But you seem interested in us?" Naya smiled softly. Her lavender skin glowed in the dim light. "I grew up in the palace. I never met a human before. My tutors told me your kind was weak and primitive. but you do not seem weak to me." "We are not," Teho said. "I am starting to understand that," Naya replied. On the 12th day, everything changed. Teho was sleeping in a small cabin when the alarm screamed. He was on his feet in seconds, grabbing his weapons and running to the bridge. Captain Odawsome, a young woman with sharp eyes, was already at the controls. "3 Valorian hunter ships," she reported. "They came out of hyperspace right on top of us. They must have been tracking us somehow." Teho looked at the display. 3 red dots surrounded their small ship. The Heta had weapons, but it was not built for battle. It was built to run. "Can we escape?" he asked. "Not a chance," Dosam said. "They are faster than us." Teho made a decision. "Then we fight. Let me take weapons control." Dosam looked at him with doubt, but she nodded. She had heard the stories about the Iron Wolf. She knew what he could do. Teho sat at the weapons console. The Heta had only small guns and a few missiles. The Valorian ships had heavy armor and powerful cannons. A direct fight would be suicide. But Teho did not fight directly. He thought. He planned. He used every trick he had learned in 20 years of war. The first Valorian ship came in fast, guns blazing. Teho waited until the last possible second, then fired all missiles at once. Not at the ship itself, but at the space just in front of it. The missiles exploded in a bright cloud of fire and metal. The Valorian pilot could not see. He flew straight into a chunk of debris. His ship spun out of control. The second ship tried to flank them. Teho used the Heta's speed to spin around an asteroid. The Valorian followed, but Teho had positioned them perfectly. When the enemy ship came around the asteroid, the Heta was waiting behind it. 3 quick shots into the engine. The ship went dead. The third ship was more careful. Its captain was smart. He kept his distance and fired long-range shots. One of them hit the Heta hard. The ship shook violently. Alarms screamed again. The hull had been breached in the cargo area. Teho ran, not away from the breach, but toward it. Lyra and Naya were in the cargo bay. He found them pressed against the far wall, terror in their eyes. The hole in the hull was small, but the cold vacuum of space was pulling at everything. Emergency shields had activated, but they would not last long. Teho grabbed both princesses and threw them behind a heavy cargo container. Then he stood in front of them, using his own body as a shield. A piece of broken metal flew through the air and sliced across his arm. Blood sprayed across the floor. He did not move. "Stay down," he shouted. The ship shook again. Captain Dosam was still fighting. Another hit to the enemy ship. Then another. Finally, the third Valorian vessel retreated, trailing smoke and fire. Silence fell. The emergency repairs sealed the hole. Teho finally allowed himself to breathe. He looked down at his arm. The wound was deep. Blood was dripping onto the floor. He had faced worse, but it still hurt. "You are injured," Naya said. Her voice was soft with concern. "It is nothing," Teho said. "It is not nothing." Naya stepped forward. Her hands glowed with a soft light. Valorian healing abilities. She pressed her palms against his wound. The pain faded. The bleeding slowed. In minutes, the wound was closed. Teho looked at the young princess. "Thank you." Lyra stood nearby, watching. Her face was unreadable. But Teho noticed that she did not look at him with hatred anymore. She looked confused, like she was seeing something she did not understand. "Why did you do that?" Lyra asked quietly. "Do what?" "Shield us. You used your own body. You could have died." She stepped closer, her glowing eyes searching his face. Valorian warriors would never sacrifice themselves for prisoners. Why would a human do such a thing? Teho met her gaze. "Because protecting people is what I do. It does not matter who they are." Lyra had no response to that. She turned away, but Teho saw something change in her. The wall of pride around her had cracked just a little. Later that night, Naya came to his cabin. Her face was serious. "There is something you need to know," she said. "Something we did not tell your commanders." Teho sat up. "Vorath is not just hunting us because we are threats to his throne. Naya's voice trembled. He is building a weapon. An ancient device called the Void Heart. It can destroy stars. He plans to use it on your son. He wants to wipe out Earth completely. The words hit Taeho like a physical blow. Destroy Earth. Kill billions of people. We escaped to warn you, Naya continued. We are the only ones who know the truth. That is why Vorath wants us dead so badly. Taeho's mind raced. This was no longer a simple protection mission. This was about the survival of humanity itself. He activated his communicator and sent an urgent message to Commander Beak. But as the transmission ended, a warning flashed on his screen, signal intercepted. Location compromised. Vorath now knew exactly where they were, and he would not stop until they were all dead. The Hedda fell from the sky like a burning meteor. 2 more Valorian hunter ships had found them near the uncharted planet Korath 7. Captain Dossum had fought bravely, but the damage was too great. The engines were dead. The ship was dying. Taeho held onto a support beam as the ship shook violently. Through the window, he could see the planet below. It was covered entirely in ice and snow. A frozen wasteland with no cities, no life, no hope of rescue. Brace for impact. Dossum shouted. The crash was violent. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. Everything went dark. When Taeho opened his eyes, he was lying on the cold floor of the cargo bay. His body ached everywhere. He tasted blood in his mouth. But he was alive. He pulled himself up and looked around. The ship was a ruin. Half of it was buried in snow. The other half was exposed to the freezing wind that howled through the broken hull. Naya. Lyra, he called out. He found them in the corner, behind a pile of fallen containers. Naya was unconscious, but breathing. Lyra was awake, holding her sister protectively. Her silver-blue skin looked pale. Too pale, the cold Lyra said. Her voice was weak. Valorians cannot survive in temperatures like this. We will die within hours. Taeho looked at the temperature display on his arm device. -60 degrees. For humans, it was dangerous but survivable, with proper training. For Valorians, who had evolved on a warm world, it was deadly. He had to find heat. He had to keep them alive. Captain Dossum was dead. Taeho found her body near the bridge, crushed by fallen debris. He closed her eyes gently and whispered a soldier's farewell. Then he went to work. The ship's heating systems were destroyed. But Taeho found an emergency shelter kit in the supply room. He set up thermal blankets around the princesses and activated the small portable heaters. It was not enough to warm the whole ship, but it created a small pocket of survivable air. Stay here, he told Lyra. Keep Naya warm. I am going outside. Lyra grabbed his arm. Her hand was trembling from the cold. Outside. You will die out there. No, I will not. Taeho pulled on his thermal suit. It was designed for extreme conditions, but even it had limits. I need to salvage parts from the wreckage. We need to repair the distress beacon. Otherwise, no one will ever find us. He stepped out into the frozen hell. The wind hit him like a wall of knives. Even through his suit, he could feel the terrible cold trying to reach his bones. Snow and ice swirled around him, making it almost impossible to see. Every step was a battle. Taeho spent 18 hours in that frozen wasteland. He dug through the wreckage with his bare hands when his gloves tore. He carried heavy pieces of equipment through snow that came up to his waist. His muscles screamed in pain. His lungs burned with every breath of frozen air. Any Valorian would have died in minutes. But Taeho was human, and humans were built to endure. He thought about his home. The green hills of Korea, the warm sun on his face, the smell of his mother's cooking. He held those memories close as he worked in the killing cold. When he finally returned to the ship, he collapsed just inside the door. His body was shaking violently. Ice had formed on his eyebrows and hair. He could not feel his fingers. Lyra stared at him from across the room. Her glowing eyes were wide with something he had never seen in them before. Disbelief, wonder. 18 hours, she whispered. You survived 18 hours in that. Taeho could not speak. He just nodded. Naya was awake now, but she was getting worse. The cold was slowly killing her. Her lavender skin had turned gray. Her breathing was shallow and weak. Lyra looked at Tejo with desperate eyes. For the first time since they met, there was no pride in her face. Only fear for her sister. "Please," she said. "Help her." It was the first time she had ever asked him for anything. Tejo pulled himself up on shaking legs. He removed his thermal suit and wrapped it around Naya. Then he held her close to his body, sharing his warmth. His human heat, the fire that burned inside every human being, Naya's trembling slowly eased. Her breathing grew stronger. Color returned to her skin. Lyra watched in silence. Something was breaking inside her. All her life, she had been taught that humans were inferior. Weak, pathetic creatures who survived only by luck and numbers. But this human had walked through a frozen hell to save them. He had given his own warmth to keep her sister alive. "I do not understand you," Lyra said quietly. Tejo looked at her. "There is nothing to understand. You needed help. I helped, but we are your enemies. We have killed your people. I tried to kill you, but that was then. This is now." Tejo's voice was calm. "I do not hold on to hatred. It is too heavy to carry." The long night stretched on. The three of them huddled together in the small pocket of warmth, surrounded by the frozen darkness. Outside, the wind screamed like a living thing. Lyra finally spoke again. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "The war between our peoples was wrong. My father knew it. Before he died, he was working on a peace agreement. He said that Valorian pride had made us blind." She paused, pain crossing her beautiful face. "Voroth killed him for that. He called it weakness." "Your father sounds like a wise man," Tejo said. "He was." Lyra looked at him with those glowing eyes. "There is something I never told anyone. During our battle 5 years ago, I had a chance to kill you. Your guard was down. I could have ended your life." Tejo remembered that moment. The flash of her blade. The opening she had not taken. "Why did you not?" he asked. "I do not know." Lyra shook her head slowly. "There was something in your eyes. Even when you were losing, even when death was coming, you did not show fear. You did not beg. You just kept fighting. I had never seen anything like it." She looked away. "I suppose I wanted to understand what made humans so stubborn. And do you understand now?" Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Then she almost smiled. "No, I think I understand even less. But I am beginning to believe it is something worth understanding." Hours passed. Tejo worked on the distress beacon with frozen fingers and exhausted eyes. Finally, just before dawn, it flickered to life. A signal pulsed out into the void, calling for rescue. But as the beacon activated, 2 signals appeared on the scanner. One was human, a rescue ship responding to their call. One was Valorian. Voroth's hunters closing in fast. Both would arrive within 6 hours. Whoever came first would decide their fate. Tejo looked at the 2 princesses. Naya was recovering, her strength returning. Lyra met his eyes with new understanding. "We may have to fight," he said simply. Lyra nodded. For the first time, there was no hesitation in her voice. "Then we fight together." The Valorian ship touched down on the frozen plain just as the sun rose over the ice mountains. Tejo watched from the mouth of a nearby cave, his breath forming clouds in the freezing air. He counted 12 soldiers stepping out of the vessel. 12 tall, powerful figures in dark armor. Shad, the deadliest warriors in the Valorian Empire. They were the personal killers of the royal family. Each one was trained from childhood to be a perfect weapon. Each one had killed dozens of enemies in single combat. Together, they were nearly unstoppable. Their leader carried a device in his hand. He activated it, and a hologram of Prince Voroth appeared above his palm. "Find my sisters." Voroth's voice echoed across the frozen land. "Bring them back to me alive. As for the human, kill him, but make it slow. I want him to suffer." The hologram disappeared. The Shadow Guard began their hunt. Tejo retreated into the cave system. It was a maze of ice tunnels and frozen chambers that stretched deep into the mountains. He had spent the last few hours exploring it, memorizing every path, every turn, every dead end. He could not defeat 12 elite Valorians in open combat. He knew that. But he did not need to beat them. He just needed to delay them long enough for the human rescue ship to arrive. Lyra and Naya waited in a deep chamber at the center of the cave system. Lyra was on her feet, despite the cold that still weakened her. A strange energy burned in her glowing eyes. "I will fight with you," she said. "You can barely stand," Tejo replied. "I can stand enough to kill." Lyra's voice was hard. "These soldiers murdered my father's loyal guards. They helped Vorath take the throne. I have been waiting for a chance to face them." Tejo looked at Naya. The younger princess was pale but determined. "I cannot fight like my sister," Naya said. "But I have other abilities. My light can blind enemies in the darkness. It may help." Tejo nodded. He had no choice but to accept their help. "Stay behind me. Follow my orders, and do not be heroes." The battle began in the outer tunnels. Te-Ho had set traps using pieces from the crashed ship. When the first Shadow Guard entered, a hidden explosive brought the ceiling down on him. One enemy crushed under tons of ice. 2 more came rushing in, fast and angry. Tejo was waiting in the shadows. He shot one through the neck before the soldier even saw him. The second one charged with blades drawn. Tejo met him in close combat. The Shadow Guard was faster, stronger. His blade cut across Tejo's shoulder, drawing blood. But Tejo was experienced. He used the narrow tunnel to limit the soldier's movement. He blocked. He dodged. He waited for an opening. It came when the Shadow Guard overextended on a thrust. Tejo stepped inside his guard and drove a knife into the gap between his armor plates. The soldier fell. 3 down. 9 to go. But the enemy was learning. They stopped rushing in blindly. They moved carefully, checking for traps. They advanced as a unit, covering each other. Tejo fell back deeper into the caves. He fought them at every turn. He used the ice, the darkness, and the cold. The Valorians were weakening in the freezing temperatures. Their movements grew slower. Their reactions grew duller. But Tejo was bleeding from a dozen small wounds. His breath was coming in ragged gasps. He was running out of time. The final battle happened in a large frozen chamber near where the princesses hid. 6 Shadow Guard remained. They had cornered Tejo against a wall of solid ice. "Impressive," their leader said. "For a human. But this ends now." Tejo raised his blade. His arms were shaking with exhaustion. Then coming ended. They charged. 6 against 1, but they had forgotten about Lyra. The elder princess burst from the shadows like a silver storm. Her telepathic powers hit them like invisible hammers, throwing to soldiers against the walls. She moved with deadly grace, her blade dancing through the air. She was wounded. She was tired. But she fought like the royal warrior she was. Naya raised her hands, and her body erupted with blinding light. The chamber became bright as day. The Shadow Guard screamed, their sensitive eyes overwhelmed by the sudden flash. Tejo did not waste the moment. He killed 2 more enemies before they could recover. But the Shadow Guard leader was too skilled. He closed his eyes and fought by hearing alone. His blade found Tejo's side, cutting deep. Tejo gasped as pain exploded through his body. He felt blood flowing down his leg. The leader raised his sword for the killing blow. Naya screamed, "No," but Tejo was not finished. Even as he fell, even as death reached for him, he grabbed the leader's wrist. He pulled the soldier down with him, and with his last strength, he drove his blade through the leader's throat. The Shadow Guard collapsed on top of him. Dead silence fell in the frozen chamber. Lyra killed the last 2 soldiers who tried to run. Then she rushed to Tejo's side. Blood was pooling beneath him, melting the ice into dark red water. "You fool," Lyra said. Her voice cracked. She pressed her hands against his wound, trying to stop the bleeding. "You stupid, stubborn human. You do not get to die. Not for us. Not like this." Teho looked up at her. His vision was growing dark. Did we win? Yes, we won. Tears were forming in Lyra's glowing eyes. Valorians did not cry easily. It was considered a sign of weakness. But she did not care anymore. You won. So stay alive, please. The world faded to black. When Teho woke, he was no longer in the ice cave. He was lying on a medical bed, surrounded by soft lights and the hum of machines. Human machines. A face appeared above him. Admiral Shinhairi. Welcome back, soldier, she said. You gave us quite a scare. Teho tried to sit up, but pain kept him down. The princesses? Safe, thanks to you. Shin's expression was serious. Our rescue team arrived just after the battle ended. They found you almost dead, with 2 Valorian princesses refusing to leave your side. Ash! Teho closed his eyes. Relief washed over him. There is more, Shin continued. Princess Naya shared everything about Voreth's weapon, the Void Heart. It is real, and it is almost complete. The memory hit Teho like cold water. The weapon that could destroy Earth's sun, kill billions of people. What do we do? He asked. We fight back. Shin's eyes were hard with determination. The princesses hold the only knowledge that can stop that weapon. They know where it is. They know its weakness. But to get that information, Princess Lyra must trust us with her empire's deepest secrets. The door opened. Lyra walked in slowly. She looked different. The cold pride was still there, but it was softer now. There was gratitude in her eyes, in something else. Something that looked almost like friendship. I trust him, she said, looking at Teho. I will tell him everything. Because he taught me what true strength means. Not power over others, but the will to protect them. Ho met her eyes. Then let us end this. Together. The final battle was coming. The human fleet gathered at the edge of Valorian space. 50 warships. 10,000 soldiers. Everything humanity could spare for this desperate mission. But everyone knew the truth. A direct attack on Voreth's stronghold would fail. The Valorian defenses were too strong. Too many would die. That was why Teho proposed a different plan. He stood in the war room of the flagship, still recovering from his wounds, but refusing to stay in bed. Admiral Shin listened carefully as he explained. A small team, Teho said. Just me and the princesses, plus 4 of my best soldiers. We go in quiet. The princesses know the secret paths into the palace. They know where the Void Heart is hidden. We disable the weapon from the inside while the fleet draws attention from the outside. It is a suicide mission, Shin said flatly. Every mission I have ever done has been a suicide mission. Teho did not smile. I am still here. Shin studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Permission granted. Do not die, Iron Wolf. That is an order. The small ship slipped through Valorian space like a ghost. Lyra guided them through patrol routes she had memorized as a child. Naya used her telepathic abilities to sense enemy minds before they got too close. Teho and his 4 soldiers, Sergeant Han Juwoo, Park Soo-min, Kim Dong-haeon, and Lee Yuna, stayed alert and ready. They landed on the sacred moon of Valoria Prime under the cover of night. The moon housed the ancient temple where the Void Heart was kept. It was also where Voreth had made his throne room, believing the weapon's power made him invincible. The team moved through the temple's hidden passages. Dust covered the ancient stones. Forgotten statues watched them pass with empty eyes. Lyra walked in front, her face hard with painful memories. I played in these halls as a child, she whispered. My father brought me here to teach me our history. He said the Void Heart should never be used. It was a reminder of what our ancestors were capable of when they forgot compassion. Voreth forgot that lesson, Naya said quietly. Voreth never learned it, Lyra replied. They reached the inner chambers without being detected. But as they approached the throne room, they found something that made them stop. Valorian citizens in chains, dozens of them. Old men, young women, children. They were being held in cages like animals. Voreth is punishing anyone who speaks against him, Lyra said, her voice trembling with anger. These are his own people. One of the prisoners saw them, an old woman with tired eyes. She did not call for guards. Instead, she pressed her hands together in a gesture of prayer. "The true princesses," she whispered. "You came back. You'll free you," Naya promised. "All of you. But first we must stop the weapon." The old woman nodded. "End him. End this nightmare." They moved on. The throne room doors stood before them, massive and ancient. Tejo checked his weapons. His soldiers formed up behind him. "Once we go through those doors, there is no turning back," he said. "Are you ready?" Lyra drew her blade. Naya straightened her shoulders. They both nodded. Tejo kicked the doors open. The throne room was vast, filled with golden light and the hum of terrible power. At the far end, a machine pulsed with dark energy. The Void Heart. It was beautiful and horrible, a sphere of swirling darkness surrounded by rings of ancient metal. And on the throne sat Voreth. He was larger than any Valorian Tejo had ever seen. His skin was deep purple, almost black. His eyes glowed red with madness and hatred. When he saw his sisters, he smiled. "You came home," Voreth said. "How touching. And you brought a human pet." "It ends here, brother," Lyra said. "Your reign of terror is over," Voreth laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You cannot stop me. The Void Heart is already charging. In 1 hour, your precious Earth will be nothing but ash and memory." "Then we have 1 hour to kill you," Tejo said simply. Voreth's smile disappeared. He rose from his throne like a mountain coming to life. In his hands was a massive blade, crackling with energy. "The famous Iron Wolf," Voreth sneered. "I will enjoy breaking you." He moved faster than anything that large should move. Tejo barely raised his sword in time to block the first strike. The impact sent shock waves through his arms. He felt bones creak. Sergeant Han and the others attacked from the sides. Voreth swatted them away like insects. Park Suman crashed into a pillar. Kim Donghayan flew across the room. Han managed to cut Voreth's arm before a backhand sent her spinning into the wall. "You see," Voreth roared. "Humans are nothing. Weak little creatures pretending to be warriors." Tejo attacked again, and again, and again. Each time, Voreth knocked him down. Each time, Tejo got back up. Blood ran down his face. Left arm hung useless, broken. His body screamed at him to stop, to surrender, to accept death. But Tejo did not know how to quit. "Why do you keep rising?" Voreth demanded. He sounded almost afraid. "You cannot win. You must know. You cannot win." Tejo spit blood onto the floor. "I do not fight because I can win. I fight because I refuse to let monsters like you destroy everything I love." He charged one more time. Voreth swung his massive blade. But this time, Tejo did not try to block. He dove low under the strike. He felt the blade slice across his back, cutting deep. But he kept moving. He drove his sword with all his remaining strength into Voreth's knee. The tyrant screamed and collapsed at the same moment. Lyra reached the Void Heart. Her hands flew across the ancient controls. Naya stood beside her, providing the codes their father had trusted only to them. "The weapon is disabled," Naya shouted. Voreth howled with rage. He grabbed Tejo by the throat and lifted him into the air. "Then you die first." But before he could crush Tejo's neck, Naya's voice rang out across the chamber.
Oh.
And beyond it, across all of Valoria. "People of the Empire, this is Princess Naya. Voreth murdered our father, planned to destroy Earth and blame it on our people. He is imprisoned and killed innocent citizens. His reign is a lie built on blood." The broadcast spread through every communication system on the planet. Soldiers who had followed Varath out of fear now saw the truth. Officers who had stayed silent now found their courage. Within minutes, the throne room was surrounded. But not by Voreth's loyalists. By Valorian soldiers pointing their weapons at their false emperor. Voreth dropped Tejo and stared at the soldiers surrounding him. His red eyes were wild with disbelief. "Surrender," Lyra commanded. "It is over." But Voreth had never known how to surrender. With a roar, he raised his blade and lunged at Lyra. Teho moved. Broken and bleeding, he still moved. He threw himself between Vorith and Lyra. His sword found Vorith's heart. The tyrant fell. His eyes dimmed. His last breath was a whisper of disbelief. Silence filled the throne room. Lyra caught Teho as he collapsed. She held him gently, her tears falling on his face. "You saved us all," she whispered. Teho managed a weak smile. "I told you. Protecting people is what I do." The weeks that followed brought peace. Lyra was crowned empress. Her first act was to open peace negotiations with Earth. Naya chose to stay among humans as an ambassador. Having grown to love their culture and their unbreakable spirit, Teho refused all medals and promotions. He asked only for a quiet post where he could rest. On the day before Lyra returned to Valoria, she visited him one last time. She placed her hand over his heart in the Valorian gesture of deepest respect. "You taught me what strength truly means," she said. "Not power over others, but the will to protect them." Teho nodded simply. "Take care of your people, Empress." She smiled. The first true smile she had ever given a human. "Take care of yourself, Iron Wolf." Years later, a statue was built in the palace gardens of Valoria Prime. It showed a human warrior standing with his shield raised, protecting two figures behind him. The inscription read, in both Valorian and human languages, they called him enemy. He made himself guardian. Ow. In the darkest hour, humanity's fire lit the way home.